welcome everyone to our series of Sunday talks. We're very privileged here today to have Marc Acquaviva with us. Now, he's one of these people that got into yoga and then allowed yoga to get into him. So got into yoga, did the traditional things, had certain issues, was able to resolve the issues, and then interpolate all of that from the great teachers that he's gone to. He's made a great focus of the way that the body is and how to look at various aspects of the body and the interaction between the physical body and the mind, bone structures and so forth. He'll tell you a great deal, I'm sure. So this afternoon, we're privileged to have somewhere between an hour and a half, an hour or so of gentle introduction and then some practices, followed by some Q&A, and if we've got time, a bit of relaxation, a bit of actual postural demonstration of trying to solve some of the questions that might be coming in. So we'll take it as we go. He's very practiced in this art. He even has 2 cameras. I'm really envious. So he's very good at online procedures, and as usual, there you go. As usual, Christina and I will be all three. Christina and I will be on tap, and if you have urgent questions, then do come on to chat. But I will just hand you over and just say thank you very much indeed for coming in and joining us today.
Thank you. So over to me, is it?
It is indeed.
Okay, great. So welcome. Yes, I'm going to. There's too many of you to monitor everyone practicing, but yes, I like to be interactive. What I'm going to the first part of the session is going to be largely practical, because I think the title I gave the workshop was "The Wisdom of the Body." And for the ideas I'm going to be sharing with you, we need to be exploring with the body in order to understand what I'm talking about. Hi, who's waving at me? Hi, Michelle. You can't hear me? Can anyone else? Everyone can hear me, yes. So Michelle, your audio is muted somewhere, okay? Yes, thank you. Okay, yes, so yes, the thing that I want to start with, I would like to invite you just for the next hour or so to drop what you know, not for any other reason than to be able to be with the ideas that I'm wanting to share with you directly with a beginner's mind. It's when we can experience new things in the least complicated way. It becomes complicated when we're sort of trying to build upon what we know and verify what is being said alongside with what we know. And from my direct experience of actually how to find solutions for the various complications in my body that I started my adult yoga journey with, it was nothing to do with what I already knew. It turned out it was, I'll tell you a little bit of what happened. I used to be in the music industry back in the day, and I was suffering. I was hurting all the time. I would wake up in pain. I'd feel pain all day. I'd go to bed in more pain. If I could get some sleep, I would wake up the next day hurting even more. And it was an ongoing cycle that I took to osteopaths and other people to try and fix. And eventually I got round to coming back to yoga, which is something I did as a child. And in the process, it turned out that by the time I got to the place where I was resolving the complications, finding ease in my body, it turned out that the thing the body was telling me was that I was living my life in a way that wasn't true. It wasn't true to me. It wasn't true to my soul path. And it was just my body shouting at me to get on with what I was supposed to be doing. And luckily, it was yoga. So, that's my history. And the way I actually found those solutions wasn't by understanding the body from the top down. I did the anatomy. I learned everything you're supposed to learn, but nothing I was told helped me understand how to fix it. It only explained why things were hurting. The way that I found solutions was a different process, and luckily, when I got into yoga, it was this inverted commas Scaravelli inspired stuff. Has anyone heard of that? Hand up if you have. Yes. Okay. It's generally an approach that is considered as organic, more looking for the nature of the body and that sort of thing. It invites kindness to the self, and that by itself leads to results. Just by deciding to be kind to your body, the body starts to respond well. But I was still running things with ideas, and at the point when I was ready to teach, become a teacher, because I wanted to make yoga my life, I was full on into the anatomy. It was basically an anatomy course that I did. What happened over that time was I was imposing more and more of these ideas on my body with the idea that I was going to fix it. And I suffered a prolapsed disc in the process. I was stretching some myofascia that I felt was tight and that sort of thing. And I succeeded, and I prolapsed the disc, and I couldn't walk as a result. And it was quite devastating for me. But that brought me back to more of an original relationship to my body that I had when I was a child, when I used to do yoga then. And I found a solution. And the solution was different from what I knew. But I was in enough pain to let go of what I knew in favor of a solution. And the solution came by listening directly to the clues that my body was giving me, as opposed to feeling stuff, interpreting it, and then reacting with what I knew. Does that make some sort of sense? There's a hierarchy in these things, and I was just saying at the beginning, before we got online, we talk about mind, body, soul, as if that's the hierarchy. And what I firmly believe these days, because of the evidence and what's happened for me and for the people that sort of seem to that I work with to help with their particular body problems, it's the other way around. The hierarchy needs to be soul, body, mind, and the mind needs to be the servant of these things. And the way we can tune into what we are meant to be doing in life, let alone feel good in ourselves, is through the body. And the body has a direct line to our heart's desire. And if we're not following that, it will tell us about it on some level, which is the sort of big picture thing of what I'm trying to share here. On a more practical level, we go about our daily lives and we have aches, we have pains. Some people have knee problems, they have tight hips, they have tight shoulders, they have whatever. The answer is not going in with the mind and doing stuff to the body. That is not the answer. Because if it was, the mind would already know how to do it. You would already be okay. The answer is when the mind can be present through the body to how we are relating to this earth. And by relating, I'm not talking about how you feel. I'm talking about physical engagement. How we relate to this earth and how we relate on a physical level through the breath and its release and our engagements, how we relate to the space that we occupy. And if we can take our attention, and this is what I found in my teaching as well as in my own practice, if we can take our attention to the quality of our actions, then what happens is we can notice, the witness can notice how the body responds to that. And what's more, because we're working with how we relate to the world around us, we're not doing that sort of insular thing of closing, looking inwards to disappear from the world around us in order to find out what's there. What we'll find is in the world around us. So what we need to practice is how we relate to our contact, how we relate to space through the breath and its release. And if we find good relationships to those things, everything between the space above and the space below gets to sort itself out. And that's when you can start practicing your yoga. Does that mean anything to anyone? Shall I give you a physical experience? Yes, good. Thank you, Annabelle. So I've got a few nods, a few confused faces. Yeah, it's good. Okay. So let's see. I want to give you an immediate experience of something. So we're sitting, and we're sitting, and we're being upright, and we're breathing, and we're letting go of the breath. So I'd like you to notice the sensation of it. Log how your body feels. Quite naturally, we want to relax. So relax as best you can. And we also have the task of being upright and being present to what's going on in the screen. So relax, but just tune into how your body feels. And you'll notice that there's some heavinesses here. There's some tensions there. Okay, so that's the normal way of doing things. It's quite hard for us to look inwards whilst paying attention to what's outside, because that's an action of the mind, of the thinking mind. So what I'd like you to do now is, first of all, I want you to soften your eyes, but perhaps using my image as something to look at. Okay, so you soften your eyes and you can see me, but I'd like your vision to get more interested in the space around me. So my garden space, okay? And then beyond that, past your screen, you still have your eyes resting on me. So if you can broaden your vision gently to beyond the screen, to the walls either side of you. Good. And then notice that you can look at me and you can take in the space all around you. And if I said, can you sense can you feel your left big toe? Now, if you disappeared from looking at me to find it, then come back and soften again. Broaden your vision. And see if it can just include your left big toe. Or I can make it your tailbone, for example. Okay. So now let's do the normal thing. I'd like you to think about your left big toe. Good. Is there a difference? Give me a thumbs up if you noticed a difference in how you felt. 1 or 2. Yeah, good. So maybe try one more time. Okay, let's do something a bit more. Let's be with things that are a bit more what you might notice when you're practicing yoga. Okay, notice your tailbone. So close your eyes, get relaxed, think about your tailbone, feel where your tailbone is, and then open your eyes again and try and listen to me. Now, can you feel, is there a movement between those things? Is there a movement of the mind from the tailbone to the screen and back again when you think about, when you look at, when you point your attention at these things? Whether there is or not, try doing this again, but this time, once again, softly resting your eyes on the image and broadening your vision. So you come out of looking outwards and go into receiving information through the eyes. And it can expand into the space around you. You can include information you receive from your hearing. And it can include where your tailbone is. Good. Thank you. See, the thing is, when we practice our yoga, normally what we do is we do this cross-eyed thing of looking inwards. And we're looking at the body like it's a thing. But if you can have this softer vision, which is closer to presence, closer to awareness, then you can take in, you can receive a great deal more information. And I would like you to try, when we're trying these things out, I'd like you to approach what I'm offering you, which will be some straightforward physical things. I'd like you to approach them with that softer vision, if at all possible. So the first thing I want to do is get you to experience or play with your relationship to the earth. So we'll start with standing, if that's okay. I look a bit bright on this. I'm going to just tune that down a bit. Good. That's a bit dark now, but overdid it. So let's do that. That should do. Okay. So first off, just approach standing in a similar sort of fashion. Relax into your feet, and try not to create too much of a artifice in terms of practice. Just arrive on your feet and see what it feels like when you relax. Then let's just try a couple of things. You'll try do a forward bend of your own kind as you know it, and relax into that. And see how that feels. And I'd like you to log the sensation of how you're giving your weight. You're probably resting your head down. You're trying to rest off from your spine, and the spine will be sort of stretching a little bit because of that. And then pull down through the heels, stand up. I'd like you to try a little bit of a standing back bend, however you do it. Just try it, not overly stretched, just a bit of a back bend, and see how it feels. The main thing I want you to do is log how things feel for you, and how you are in relationship to what's going on. Okay. So there's this thing that we do when we practice, where we forward bend because we feel tight. We want to stretch, so we stretch, and then we feel a bit closed up, so we do back bends and we stretch because we feel a bit tight. Yes. Okay. So I'd like you to shift gear and take on that soft peripheral vision if you can. And when your vision is softened and broadened, I'd like you to play with where the weight is on your feet. And most people land on their heels and then have toes on the end of that. I would like you to play with giving the weight to the fronts of the feet. And actually, if I was to tell you about the anatomy of it, I can prove that the heel is not a foot. The heel is part of your ankle. Okay, so the foot itself is all the bones of the foot down to the toe. So allow the weight to drift forward slightly and sort of get loose in your joints. So there's no holding. There's no need to hold. Just get loose in your joints with a little bit of lightness in the heels. And the thing I want you to explore is not so much what you should be doing, more what the quality of your contact with the earth is as you move it around. So when you take your weight forwards, do the feet respond by touching the ground? Or do they respond by drawing you closer to the ground, gripping a bit? It doesn't matter. Just explore what happens. If your feet do a sort of touching opening thing, you'll probably feel lighter. You'll probably feel a bit lighter away from the ground. if your feet do a sort of slight clawing, gathering thing, then you'll want to get closer to the ground. So don't hold yourself up if that's the case. All right? So if your feet do a down and opening thing, allow that lightness to come up through you. And if your feet, and you can try this, try both. In response to giving the weight to the feet, the fronts of the feet, try a sense of touching the ground and growing your toes from it. So there's a quality of contact that's both delicate and firm. It's sort of touching the ground and then radiating out from it a bit, like you're trying to massage the ground. Okay? And see if that relationship to the touch, if you stay loose in your joints, if you're controlling and holding, then nothing will happen. So you have to be able to let go. You can try this: catch hold of a wrist and put the weight of your hands on your head, so that and look forwards with a soft vision as you play with your weight, allowing things to let go on the inside. And if your toes open up in response, if your feet open up in response to giving the weight forwards, then I'm saying that gives you an opportunity to let go of the ground on the inside of the body. So you start to come up, and those of you that know some yoga techniques will recognize the beginnings of Uddiyana Bandha, possibly Mula Bandha. The insides of the body come up with the lightness in the heels. And if your eyes are soft, then you won't be controlling things with your head. If your arms are rested, if your shoulders are rested from your hands, then your wings will be free of the neck and the spine and the ribs. So they'll be free to fly a little. And little by little, if you stay with this quality of contact with the earth, allowing yourself to release away from that contact, provided the toes respond in a expressive outwards action, you should find that basically the spine moves forwards so that you start to open up. And if from that opened up position, you can float in space, you can feel light in space, take a breath there. And somehow, before you release the breath, you've got to extend the heels away from you to touch the ground. Once you've done that, just let go into your feet and let them open up again. See what it feels like. So it's with the release of the breath. You sort of, the thing that's giving you space will make you feel like you're inviting space to breathe. So let yourself breathe. And from your feet, from your touch, if your wings are up here, you can start to relate to space. Now I don't mean think about space. I mean, use the space either side of you. If there was a surface that you could press against, how would that go? And you're hanging off your wrist so you can engage. So you widen through one wing, like you're meeting space, like you're engaging with space. And you do it with the arrival of the breath. You widen into space. You widen into space as you breathe. And then when you're at the top of the lightness, extend the heels away from you, and you might find your feet clawing up again. But then let go into your touch and open the feet. And see how the body responds. Good. So let's take it the other way. You could try a forward bend. And normally when people forward bend, they lower their weight. And as they lower, they'll be catching their weight at the same time. So try it, see what it feels like. It'll be a relaxation after what we just did. Then I'd like you to try it one more time. So when you've had a go, come back. Once again, I want you to play with where the weight is on the feet. Loosen the joint, so you're not fixing against movement. And if, as the weight comes forwards, you feel light, then this space that comes up can be with you as you allow the heels to drop away from the space in your groin. So put your hands on tops of the thighs near the groins. Make sure you're relaxed in the hips, relaxed in the knees, relaxed in the ankles, but something coming up on the inside as a result of giving weight to your fronts of your feet. Take a breath, and when you release the breath, let the heels, you might need to claw your feet a bit to get the heels down. Let the heels drop away from you, but let the thighs drop back with your heels. So you sort of release towards the ground. And then when you get there, you put your feet down. You engage through your feet. And you do it rhythmically, relaxing away from the ground to breathe a little. So you don't push the ground away as you breathe, you relax. And as you release the breath, you press down through the feet and work out through the toes. So you're relating, you're pulsing through the earth. It's the quality of your touch that matters, not what you're doing to yourself. You need to relax and feel supported as you do it. That's all. If you can find the rhythm of things, then from the fronts of the feet, you can once again drop down through the heels to stand up again. From the fronts of the feet, dropping down through the heels and opening out the feet to stand up again. From the fronts of the feet to feel light along the front of the body. And then you extend the heels away from you, or you pull the heels down and open out the feet to grow into space again. So once again, let's try another forward bend. Playing with the weight forwards so that you can release space in the front of the body. And just watch for a second, if you don't mind. Just watch closely. If we want to get to the ground, lowering our weight will cause problems. Because you're asking the spine to carry your weight. You're asking your hamstrings to carry your weight. And then you get there and you feel held by the spine and the hamstrings. Okay? If your intention is to get close to the ground, you watch any child pick something up. They don't do this. They decide to get close to the ground. It's a simple decision to not push the ground away. Okay? And the practicals of how to do that is you want to be supported by your feet, which is not the heels, but the attempt to bring the heels to the ground is like a drawing up feeling. And when you draw up, if you stay put, you'll be tense. But if you allow it to bring you down, so I don't know if you can see my feet, there's a sense of drawing up the center of the foot. Okay, drawing up the center of the foot. I'll do a close-up so you can see. So I take the weight onto the fronts of the feet, and if I want to be light in space, the toes open. So I'm relaxed. There's no holding. Okay. Now I could just rest back through the heels. So you can't see what else is going on. I could just rest back through the heels and I'd fall forwards. Okay. But then I wouldn't be connected. So first of all, I take the weight through the fronts of the feet so the toes growing out can make me feel light. But then I want to draw myself towards the ground, and I do that. The toes curl up a bit, the center of the foot comes up. It's the ankle working to bring the heel down. It's the ankle working to bring the heel down. There's no particular weight there, but if I do that, then I'm drawn towards the ground. And I can let go. I'm drawn towards the ground and I can let go. Let's find a better scene to do that in. If I do that, I am drawn towards the ground. And then when I get there, I put my feet down and out to support myself. So it involves me relaxing. To stand up again, I want to find lightness. And then I want to draw myself into my earth so that I can use my earth to stand up. Very good. And all of it needs to be in harmony with the breath. We have prescribed inhale, exhale movements. Essentially, we want the space to breathe, and we want, when we release the breath, you don't want to release into heaviness. You want to release into your touch, so you're supported, so you can relax into movement. So even in the forward bend, while you're there, by all means practice with me, play with the weight going forwards a little, away from the heels. And if the toes open out, you'll be supported away from the ground on the inside, so you should feel lighter. And then play with gathering yourself together, drawing the center of the foot up, which you do with your ankle, and your toes curl up when you do that. Drawing the center of the foot up to bring your heels and you down. And then when you get close to the ground, when you get closer, when your spine is closer to your touch, take a breath with this closeness, kind of gathered in feeling. And then when you release the breath, give it to your ground and express out through your toes. So breathing in from your feet, releasing the breath into touch. So you're basically massaging the ground with your feet. If you watch a cat, padding its way, it draws in and then it opens out. And if we can breathe in and release the breath in harmony with this relationship to the earth, you can do with it as you please. You can do it to find a deeper relationship to forward bend. Or you can do it to decide to move into standing. Or from standing, you can do the same thing to take you into other movements in space. Very good. So I'm just going to pause for a moment and see if there's any immediate questions going on. I can see a lot of chat going on. I feel back. Yes, I agree, Annabelle. Yes, that's true. Yes, any questions? Can I unmute people? Am I allowed to do that? Let's see. Unmute. It worked for some of you. So if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to say, feel free. There'll be a proper Q&A at the end if I get time. But
I was glad that you included the breath. I was wondering about the breath until you started to talk about it.
Yes. We need the breath to agree with what we're doing. You see, the breath and who we are the same thing. Breath and who we are the same thing in terms of, because the way we are reacting to environment, the way we are feeling about things will be dictated by the breath. We also have preferences. We have preferences in our breathing that is based on our lifestyle and what we like to do. So the idea of correct breathing, there is no such thing really. There is only breath that agrees with what you're doing or doesn't.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
But which takes me on to the second relationship that we need to be interested in, because we need to be interested in the way we relate to space. And I got you to sort of imagine play with wings. Did anyone feel something when you were engaging with space? It's different from waving your arms about. It's a direct, you kind of feel a resistance and then you get something back from it, And that depends on your intention. If what you're doing is moving arms around in space, you can do that. And it doesn't take much effort, but then you have to hold yourself in space. But if you engage with space, you're meeting a surface, you're finding a relationship, and that relationship will be through breathing and through the release of the breath. You can hold your arms out and it's nothing to do with breathing. But if you engage with space, like you're using like you're opening your wings, and that takes a bit of effort to catch the air, but then you want to use the space underneath your wings for support because you want to fly. And that will happen with the out-breath, probably. So you breathe in and you fly. Yet in yoga, we're taught to breathe in and then breathe out, which is a lifting and dropping of the body externally. It's a thing that you do. You lift your body to breathe, and then you collapse your structure to breathe out, both of which involve effort. The effort of supporting yourself up and the effort of holding yourself up when you're hanging off your spine. If you can feel the support of the space around you and behind you, either side of you, if you can meet space with the breath, and here's a very important place. If everyone tries this, you can grasp your hands again and just sort of, without them being flat, have them held together so you've got wrists as well. Just lean the head into the hands, rest the shoulders from the hands, lean the head into the hands, get your soft vision on, and just see what you're thinking at the moment. Is it your hands touching your head? Or is it your head touching your hands? Which one's touching which? There's a relationship going on, okay? So can the head touch the hands as much as the hands are touching the head? And they don't want to fight. They want to support each other. And that contact wants to be a place that supports you in space. So as you lean into the contact of the hands, breathe as if you're breathing from that contact. And you should feel a sort of a forward momentum from the heart, which is why people inhale when they extend. But if you stay in that relationship where the head meets support, your own support, as you release the breath, you just let go of the breath, but you rest your head into your hands. And actually what happens is you extend better because the breath is released in the thoracic spine. Do it again. With my open. I did it with my eyes closed that time. And this time, from the space behind you, from the contact behind you that you're using, let the feeling of the breath be something that touches the back of your neck and wide into the space, the side of your wings, or taking hold of the air. And it'll be a strong breath. There's a pranayama called Sitkari that helps you find this. It's a smile across the heart. And take the breath and your attention into the space all around you as you do this. Obviously, you would have breathed out by now, but each time you breathe, see if you can, from the space behind, widen into the space either side of you and take your awareness there with you. And then stay there as you let go into your touch, which includes the head touching the hands. It also means give weight to your base. And you might find that the heart releases forwards as a result. And then take your hands away, but have them hold each other so you still have some place of contact. And see if you can stay with the imprint that you made in the back of your head as a point of support. Leaning on a wall and using it to come away from. And so use it as a point of support, breathe from it, but also allow the breath to widen from your heart through your wings. There'll be some expression through your fingers that goes with breathing. And you might find yourself holding for it. Then pause, because you're going to let go into support. You're going to let go into that the head is touching behind you. and you're going to let go into your hands, and you're going to let base. And if you let go well, what you're left with is the open-hearted relationship that you worked for. How does that feel?
Good.
Okay, so now, just to compare, try and back bend from your thoracic spine. Notice how when you do that to your body, you'll find all sorts of tensions and pushing and pulling going on because you're dictating to the body. And go back to noticing the space either side and behind you and using it as a point of support as you breathe. Staying in relationship to that and to your touch as you release the breath to find something happen within in response to these relationships. It's shifting mind to the point of witness from within the body. And I find it so much calmer, so much clearer. I've been running teacher training courses for about a decade or so, and people that turn up for teacher training want to learn, and I understand. But they want to learn in the educational kind of way. So when I talk about this stuff, I see many furrowed brows and a lot of confusion going on until I get them practicing. And when they practice, they go, oh, it feels great. But then they try and work it out and they get confused. You work it out by staying in good relationship to earth and space. You have the time to witness the benefits. Let's stand again, shall we? Let's take it into, I've gone very bright now. Let's take it into the next part of a sequence, perhaps. I don't really have prescribed sequences. I just see where my body takes me. But so let's go from playing with trusting the fronts of the feet, get lightness. And then if you find yourself in space with that, I would make contact with the hands. I would involve a relationship between arms and head, because generally the head takes over if it's not got something to rest into. And by playing with your touch, you're also taking your attention into the space behind and either side of you, so that the heart can meet the space in front of you, as you allow space within, away from your touch. So the thinking brain can't do more than one thing at a time. So it can only be presence. And you can try one foot. And if you take a little bit of weight through the front of the right foot, then the right-hand side will open up into space. If you take a little bit of weight through the left foot, the left side can open up into space. As you take the weight into the right foot and meet space on the right-hand side with the breath, and with its release, you can involve your hands and use space to bring yourself back to the center. So if as you take your weight through your left foot, you can meet space on the left-hand side from that foot, from that touch. And if you get involved with space through that hand, take your spare hand, put it on the ribs on the left-hand side. Take a breath, and as you grow out in space through that hand, it will send the ribs back to the center. There's a response. There's something that comes back to you from your engagement. And you can begin to notice those things. If you can stay relating to your contact and the space all around you. Sorry, I keep getting the light wrong. Okay, and then let's change gear a little, and again, playing with the touch and how the thighs can be relaxed, the joints can be relaxed, the knees, so that the thigh bones can drop away from you. And this space coming up on the inside can be helped by drawing up inside the feet, and can be allowed by allowing yourself to get close to the ground. And then when you get there, your feet go down, and the heels included. You can get into a rhythmic massaging, cat pawing relationship to the earth. If you engage through the right foot, you'll get inner space on the right-hand side. If you do it with the left foot, you'll get inner space on the left-hand side. As you do it with both feet, you'll get to meet the space behind your legs as the feet open up. If you do it with both feet, you'll get to meet the space behind your pelvis as your feet go down. If you do it with both feet, you get to meet the space behind the whole of the spine, perhaps all the way to the back of the head, as your feet engage down and grow away from you. Breath by breath, exhale by exhale. So you get to be carried along for the ride. Okay, so roll up to standing to watch the next bit. Okay, I'm going to change scene if I can. There it is. Good. And I look a bit dark now, so I'm going to brighten up. Light's always changing. So here we are, and we're pulsing away, exploring how feet move us in space and how we can engage with space. And I'm going to move into dog pose. So I want a similar quality in my hands. Now, most people, if I say dog pose, they'll do this. And what that is a repetition of what you expect dog pose to feel like, a pushing away of the ground. What I'd like you to do is just get involved with your touch, have relaxed hands to start with, and that curled up feeling in the hands will bring you closer to your hands. And then when you feel close and you're still relaxed, when you feel close, you can use your hands to feel supported. So you arrive in a place of kindness. You see, the thing is, when we do that kind of dog pose, you're fixing yourself in relationship to contact. There's no real relationship. Whereas if you relax and bring yourself on the inside close to your touch, that gathering together feeling that will bring the spine closer to your hands, then when you use your hands, it'll be the spine that is supported. Okay? Have a play with that. And if you have any questions or something gets confusing for you, feel free to ask. Good. That's nice. So we start relaxing, but then we've got to get involved with the contact. And you start with the heels of the hand on the ground. That's near the little finger side of the wrist. And the heels of the hand are not the hand. The heel of the hand is on the wrist itself. Okay, you start with that, and then you sort of, if you draw yourself towards it with your hands and allow your shoulders to come back from the hands as you move close to it, it'll be an unusual thing because we're used to pulling with the shoulders, pulling down. You allow yourself to come through your shoulders to get close to your hands, and it's like drawing yourself towards support. But then when you get there, you'll still be relaxed, hopefully, in your spine, in yourself. And you can give weight, a little bit of weight of the spine directly to the heels of the hand, and then grow your fingers away from that, and then see what it feels like to step back into dog pose. Good. And when you're in dog pose, are we locked into pushing the ground away? Can you still receive the breath from your touch? Can you still receive from your hands and feet? So if your legs are kicking away and you're trying to get your heels to the ground, how about you just rest through the points of contact the feet are making, which is the ball of the foot and little toe corner. And then if you want the heel to get closer to the ground, you have to draw up in the center of the foot. So that you get closer to the foot itself, and then the heel can get a little bit closer. But don't make getting the heels down an ambition. The point is to get closer to your touch, and you can be close to your heels without them making any contact, and the inside of you will be working. You'll get, as the spine gets closer. But then if you can breathe with that close relationship, when you release the breath, you can lean into the hands and grow out through the fingers, and lean into the heels where they are in space and grow out through toes. And the spine will already be supported. So the expression through fingers and toes is all you need to feel supported in space. So you won't be locked in any joint. You'll be free to move. Very good. Okay. Well, it's close to time. We can have Q&A. We'll do one more thing standing, I think. Okay, so let's try this. We're going to just try tree pose. So have a go at doing tree pose as you see it. And most people, it's a balance, so they put their weight on one foot and then try and organize the body to balance over that foot. And that's what I do, and that's my interpretation of what goes on for people. Okay, have a go, see what it feels like. And some of you will be experienced and practiced at doing it. Others will find it harder. Okay, so now you've had a go, we can apply some of the ideas. We want to relax into support, and we try and do something like tree pose, and it's not relaxing because we're not balanced. Try this. Have the left foot is going to be the one we're going to stand through. Have it slightly forwards of you. A little bit light in the heels, but giving a little bit of weight to the front of the foot. And a play with the inside of the foot, the outside of the foot, so that the joints are free. So the knees free to bend and straighten, the hips free to turn in and turn out. Okay. So when you take weight through that foot, what hips like to do is they like to swing out to the side and then rest back. That's what hips like to do. When you take weight, they would like, if they were just doing it all by themselves, they would swing out to the side, pelvis would swing out to the side, and then release back. Okay? But what knees like to do is relax forwards and connect down to the touch. So downwards and inwards. Downwards and inwards. Hip likes to go backwards and upwards. Likes to go backwards and upwards. So what happens if you allow the knee to rest inwards and downwards and the hip to rest backwards and upwards? You can then add the weight of the touch of the heel with the center of the foot coming up. So what happens if you allow the knee to rest inwards and downwards, so forwards a bit, and you allow the hip into touch, and then you allow the hip to rest outwards and backwards at the same time. Then from the hook of the foot, the hook of the center of the foot, the heel can hook over the central space and go down, and put your weight through that. See what that feels like. Can you relax out and back through the hip, but forwards and in through the knee. You relax into your foot. And what you'll probably feel is heavy in the foot. And we're now going to make it a bit nicer. What the pelvis likes to do is move away from, so what the core of the body likes to do is move away from touch. So as you rest inwards and downwards through the toes, and when you radiate out through the toes, you can rest outwards and back through the hip. When the heel goes down, as the center of the foot draws up, so the heel can go down, the center of the body comes up and helps the heel go down. When it is down, take a breath, and as you release the breath, arrive on that foot and let it open up. See what that feels like. Good. One more time. What the core likes to do is come upwards away from touch. So as you go inwards and downwards from the knee, you radiate out so you can let the hip go outwards and backwards. You draw up on the inside of the foot so the core comes up. Whilst that's coming up, get your hands, hooked hands on your head so you can meet the space to the left, to the right. So you can breathe into space. And then when the heel goes down, breathe what you're doing, which is this widening feeling, as well as all these relationships coming up. Breathe what you're doing, and then aim and let go into that foot and let it open out. And the hip likes to rest outwards and backwards, but the knee likes to rest forwards and down. And the weight of this foot on the thigh helps you rest the leg into the foot. You can rest into your touch. So lean the heels of the hand together as well. See if you can find your shoulders. See if you can find arm bones back from shoulders so your heart gets closer to your hands. In fact, gather yourself closer to the space in front of you with your wings. Take a breath, keep it close, let it go, and lean into your hands as well as your feet. Now, I'm guessing your calf muscles are screaming if you follow those instructions, because your foot will be doing the work. And those are proprioceptive muscles as opposed to the control muscles of holding yourself together. So let's try it briefly on the other side before we finish. We want to relax knees. And from a relaxed knee, if you widen into space through your toes, you can allow the hip to widen and release up as the heel goes down. We want to relax the knees and we want to relax the hips, but we want the core of the body to release away from the ground as we touch the ground. So if you draw it up with the center of the foot, and then the heel can extend over that space away from you, and you can release the breath into a foot that supports you. We want the knee to relax. We want the hip to relax. We want the core to come up away from the ground as the body goes down towards the ground. We want a relationship to space that brings the heart forwards. So you can draw yourself closer, draw your heart closer to your hands, like you're giving someone a hug. Not a polite hug, we don't make contact, a heartfelt hug. And that can become the arrival of the breath. And then when the heels hook over that upward moving space, and you can arrive on that foot, when you release the breath from up to down, you're released from the heart, so your wings can float from the heart out. And we want to be able to rest into touch. So if you bring the heart close to the hands, if you bring the spine close to the feet, and the feet are touching, you want to bring the spine close to your touch. Take a breath. When you release the breath, lean into your touch with the spine close, so that you can trust the ground beneath you. the space behind, either side, and from the heart in front of you, so that you can release into meeting the space above you as you drop into the space below you. And inside of those relationships is all of you, all your bones, all your joints, sorting themselves out. So, thank you very much. I enjoyed that. So we have half an hour, whatever you like, Q&A. I tend to offer practical solutions. I don't have to, but if you've got a question about a part of your body, then I will show you how to help that particular part. Or if you've got a question, a general thing, I don't mind anything. What would you like to ask?
Silence. I've got painful wrists. You probably can't see me very well. It's a bit dark in here, but my wrists are very painful in anything that I do, really, at the moment.
Is it painful in weight bearing, or is it all the time, or in weight bearing?
Mainly weight bearing, but it has started to come in up to everything that I do. So it started to become,
Okay. The body is intelligent. It's telling you something. And what it's telling you is this. Please don't push against me. Because when you push against a joint, you're sort of leaning bone on bone, but at an angle that would shear those bones apart. We feel tightness with that, and we get used to it. Okay, try this. Try this very gentle thing. Be kind to that hand. Give it a little gentle squeeze of the bones together. Okay, include the wrist. Two bones in the arms that you want to squeeze together. And then there's many bones in the wrists that all want to come together. Because here's something that most people don't understand. The reason things get tight is because the body's holding you together. It's doing what you need it to do.
Yeah.
Right? If you want the body to stop being tight, you don't stretch it. That gives it more work to do, more than it wants to. What you do is you put the bones together. Okay, so you put them together. When you put them together, you might be able to gently soothe the tissue between the bones. So get into the bones between the forearms, the radius and ulna. Everyone knows there's two bones in there. Just get in there, and if your fingers do weird things because of it, that's fine. Okay. And then see if you can get into that space, which might be a bit sore for you, between the pad of the thumb and the little finger side of things. That's the equivalent of the arch of your foot.
Yeah, that's where it starts from, the pain I get. It starts from right there.
Yeah. So if you've put the bones together enough, you might be able to get into that space and allow the bones to move a little. You have to be very gentle with the hand itself. Your touch has to be just right. Okay. Now you've done that, what I'd like you to do is this. Oh, the wrong one. What I'd like you to do is just lightly put your fingertips on the ground. Okay. And from there, sort of draw yourself towards the ground through the wrist. It's like if you were to use the fingertips to pull yourself, you don't want to do that with your wrist. You don't want to do that. That's levering. You want to draw yourself through the wrist, like your fingers are drawing you closer. And as you do that, the heel of the hand, which is on the outside of the wrist. It's not actual, it's not the flesh of the little finger sign, it's on the outside of the wrist. The heel of the hand can come down. Okay. Now you've done that, lightly rest through that heel. Take a breath. See if you can organize yourself in space, leaving the heel exactly where it is, moving around sort of randomly. But the weight mustn't change. It must stay steadily kind, constantly there, steadily kind. It's moving randomly around in space until you find a place where you can, and I'm talking about your head, your neck, your upper thoracic spine particularly, and that will be when your shoulder is back, right? When you can lean into it, not too heavily, the same amount as it is, but what you do is as you take a little bit of weight, you breathe, and then when you release the breath, I'd like you to thread through your fingers using the contact of the fingers on the ground away from you. And you might feel something coming back through you to support yourself.
Yeah.
So the hand doesn't necessarily completely flatten, but it does open out.
Yeah.
Okay? Now watch. What you've got now is a relationship through that wrist, not against it. And it's not the tension in your fingers that's doing it. It's your relationship in space through that wrist. So when I give weight, I'm not giving weight down against it. I'm giving weight through it towards where my fingers are pointing. And if that was what you use for dog pose, you wouldn't give yourself any problem in your hand.
Yeah.
So if you like, move yourself around. Having done that with one hand, do something similar but quickly with the other one. So heel of the hand, move around gently. Thread the fingers away from you along the ground until you feel that something comes back through you. Take a breath with that. And then when you release the breath, release through your fingers. And there should be zero pressure in your wrists as you come up.
Yeah, that's good.
It's the answer to any joint problem. You've got to be kind to it.
Yeah.
And because it's not the problem of the wrist, it's the rest of you relating to the wrist. I like to think of joints as relationships.
Yeah. I feel like I'm fighting it sometimes, like I'm fighting against it, like rather than
Well, don't because you don't want either of you to win.
No.
Don't fight against it. The whole body, and this can go for if you've got a knee problem. You haven't got a knee problem. What you've got is a relationship problem. The way you use your lower leg and foot, the way your body above it lands on its weight on the knee, the two together are giving you a knee problem. So it's the whole of your body, the whole of you has to relate better. And the way you can feel that is by having a knee that relates to the space all around it. If you take your awareness and, if you've got your foot on the ground somewhere, that's one half of the relationship. You've got a thigh bone and you've got the rest of your body on the ground, but also in space away from the knee. But the center of your kindness is the knee itself. As you breathe, you want to feel the breath being a cushion around that knee. As you release the breath, you might be able to release through it in a way that's a bit like the knee releasing the breath in two directions. But it's your relationship to it that causes the problem. It's your relationship to it that is the solution.
Marc?
Sorry? Yes, Annabelle.
Can I ask, does that work? I have a torn meniscus on my left knee. And
Yes, so do I.
You have to. So I don't want surgery if I can avoid it.
You don't need it. No.
You don't need it. Can it heal itself by doing what you just said?
I tore my meniscus when I was 14, and it is still torn. But it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't impede function, because my function doesn't stress the meniscus.
Right, by doing what you just said.
Yes. So torn meniscus is a good reason to be kind to your knee.
Yes,
as a,
absolutely.
as a straight.
As a yoga teacher, you're sitting like this all the time.
Yes, but I'm not doing that to my knee. Okay, so I'll do sitting then. I'm not. What I'm not doing. I'll show you what I'm not doing. What I'm not doing is this.
No.
I'm not sitting on my knees. I'm not sitting on my base. Because what that leads to is a distortion of structure as the body hangs off itself. What I am doing is as I sit, I look for support from where I make contact, space where I need it. So, basically if I do that when I sit, that space gets closed. That's where my meniscus is torn. It's going to complain. If I look closely at the foot, if I look for support from my foot, that space opens up. I don't have a problem. Mm-hmm. So basically, if I look for support from my touch, if I look for space from my touch, if I look for a relationship to space that comes from my support, basically, if I'm with how I engage with the earth and how I meet space as I breathe and release, I arrive in a situation where I'm supported through my knee.
Yes.
Whereas this thing, no.
I can't do that anymore. Yeah.
Well, don't. But if I have a relationship to the earth, like if I do that to my body here, it resists, right? Mm-hmm. But if I have a relationship to the earth and a relationship from touch into space that can breathe and release and stay kind to my joints, my hips, my core, my center, then when I let go into my center from earth and space, I'm free to move. Because the joints don't have a problem. I've created good relationships. So the body is intelligent. It will resist movements that are going to damage you.
Yes.
But we impose the movement on the body. If you can find a way of being kind to your joints as you move, in preparation for movement is nothing. If I try and stretch to get this, I'm not faking it. I can't reach because I'm trying to stretch. Whereas if I look for support from my earth, if I look for support from space through the arrival and release of the breath, when I release back from space to my center and I release into the earth, I can release into movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you have to
I get that.
You have to create the conditions for the body to behave in the way that you want it. You don't bully the body into doing things. You give it the conditions it needs. And the conditions it needs is for you to be enjoying the earth and be enjoying the space around you in a practical, literal way, in a physical way. If you do that, you'll find the solutions for everything you've got going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free. I don't. It doesn't have to be about joints. It can be about anything, really. I'm quite a fan of Patanjali. I'm into the traditional stuff. It sort of came about accidentally, because on my teacher training, it was this Scaravelli-inspired stuff that was meant to be completely different from all other yoga, and then when I did the teach training, and I started reading about things like non-grasping and contentment and minimal, not minimal. Sort of conservation of energy and that sort of thing, being kind. I thought, well, hang on, this is just yoga, what we're doing here. So I'm a big fan of the traditional text, but I'm not a big fan of how it's often translated. There's lots of words like control and mastery, and it all implies you're supposed to take charge of your body. But I think that's more cultural than actually what was said originally. I think I might be wrong, but I have opinions on all sorts of things. So feel free to ask anything you like.
Do you relate this to the non-dual experience?
Yes, I think it's a way of using. We come to yoga in a dualistic experience, in that we feel the body is doing stuff to us, and the answer is not in exaggerating that. We can use that separation to our advantage. You can become objectively present to what is going to be kind to your bones and the spaces between them. You can get the intellect to join in a useful way. Get out a plastic skeleton and see what you're doing to your knee. See what's causing the meniscus to stay damaged. And then, eventually, the direct answer is to immerse mind within body. And so the mind, and I locate that personally in the heart. It feels like we literally arrive in the heart with the release of the breath. If you think about it, there's the lungs there. Do you want to try this with me? Just see if it means anything to you. Mm-hmm. Be with your hands and feet in a similar way. This sort of gently, it's like containing a sacred space. Containing a sacred space in your hands, but also within your feet. And you don't need any particular position. You just need to be comfortable. And with that containment, there won't be the periphery hanging off your body. Your shoulders won't hang off you. Your hips won't be heavy and hanging off your spine. There'll be a sort of a quiet inwards movement from your feet up through the core, and from your hands through your ribs to your lungs. And it's got to have the practical gesture. This is the power of mudra. You need to not just have hands. You need to have hands that are expressing both the inward quality and the outward relationship. You need both the inward quality of touch, the receiving quality, together with the outward relationship with space. So I don't mean hold a mudra, I mean have a gathering sensation from your hands, which will include an actual gesture. I'm not so sure about hands up, because it's kind of it's a bit of an artifice. Find a place of contact that you can rest into, but from that place of contact, just gather yourself together slightly. And as you draw yourself in, you don't do it with elbows, you do it with your living wings and leave elbows alone in space. And what you're gathering towards your hands is the inner spaces of the body and essentially the spine behind the heart, so that you're supported forward slightly. And when you are forwards, when you are close to your hands, you can rest down through your hands and you'll feel open in the heart. Before then, resting down through your hands will send you back. Okay, so if you can find a relationship between the center of your hands and the center of the heart, if you can find a relationship between the center of your feet and the center of your base, it's in front of the sacrum, that space between the pelvic bones. Then above that, there's another one, solar plexus. It's the communicators to the heart. So this quietening in feeling from this drawing in with an outward touch, drawing in from outward touch. Now, can you breathe that feeling? Can you breathe inwards, not puff up outwards? A quiet breath, a small breath on the inside. If you can, then at the top of that breath, lean into your hands a little, give to your base a little, and let the breath go. And what will happen, if the heart is a little more forwards, The lungs inside the rib cage will deflate with the resting ribs. The ribs drop down front, back, and sides. The lungs are deflating towards the center. And the center of that space is the heart. Where we return to whenever we let go. And if the heart is literally at the center in terms of gravity, then the head will be light. It'll be upright and resting back because the heart is forwards. If you can have that, open your eyes and have that soft vision, soft hearing, space behind you, either side, and above you in your awareness, then what you receive through the eyes, what you receive through the ears, what you receive through your senses, it might be processed in the brain, but it's given to the heart. And you can notice that a little more when you release the breath. Being heart-centered is a real thing, real physical thing that can happen and gives you a different experience of being in your body. Would everyone like to lie down for 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Good. If you're happy sitting, you may stay, of course, but feel free to lie down, and I'll talk you through 5 minutes of relaxation. Very good. So as you settle, try not to settle into habit. Lying down is as much a posture as anything else. So the way you lay your legs out, the way you lay your arms out will determine whether you're supported or not. So what you can do is just bring them all in again a bit, gather your limbs in again a bit, so that when you slide your heels out away from you, do so reluctantly and slowly. And the expression through the feet will be supporting up through you as you go. And that's what I want you to look for as you slowly grow the leg away from you. And then the other one. And if you can feel a bit like you're leaning into your feet, just a little, when you let go, then you've probably got the right distance. If it feels like the knees fall back and the feet are disconnected, then you've gone too far. Shoulders and arms. When we're trying to flatten our backs, we tend to pull our shoulders down our backs, and it doesn't really work. What it leaves you is without space underneath your wings. So if you just gather your hands, bring your hands together and one more time in front of you, with that gathered in feeling from the center of the palms to your heart, and just roll one shoulder up towards your ear and then back into the ground. The down part is the ribs and spine underneath it, with the release of the breath. Then roll the other shoulder up towards your ear, draw it back into the ground with the gathering of the hands. And then the down part, when you release the breath, is the ribs underneath it, behind you. Do it with both shoulders, roll them both up and then pull them back into the ground. And then when you release the breath, the down part is the ribs underneath it, which is the spine behind the heart. Then you don't want that sort of contact with the ground to completely leave you when you lay the arms out. So let the elbows softly arrive on the ground reasonably nearby, so that you might feel like they're a bit high up, but notice the space underneath them. And then you can lay out the edges of the arms and hands towards the ground and relax into having space between body and wings. And then if you just nuzzle the head into the ground, embrace it with the breath, embrace the earth with the breath, like you're meeting it for the first time. And then allow the breath to drop back through that contact so the heart still opens, but there's space in the throat. Then you let go through your head, like the head is a point of support. Then you can let go of tension as you trust your earth. The letting go of tension needs to be to where you meet the earth. If it's anywhere else, you will get heavy. So you drop into points of contact as you breathe. And that can include the heels a little. And if there's a little activity with it, that's fine. Relaxing is an incremental process. And when you drop into the earth to breathe, it gets your body to meet the space behind and either side of you. And then when you drop into the same points of contact to release the breath, when you trust your bones, instead of becoming heavy towards the ground, you give your weight away to the ground, through the ground. And there's a sense of dissolving away from it within. Breath by breath. We give weight to the ground to release space within, away from it. Now, as you move closer to the heart with that release, which happens every time the lungs empty, it's a movement away from the legs and the fluid core of the body. That fluid empties back and up towards the heart. It's a movement away from space all around you through the rib cage, away from the ground behind, away from the space either side, and away from the space in front. And it's up from the feet and it's down from the crown. It's up through the root and it's down from the crown. So we're moving towards the spine from all space, but we're also moving through it from above and below as we let go of tension. And the place that I feel is most useful generally in life for that energy to meet is the heart itself, the spine behind the heart itself. Because from there, the 12,000 nadis light up. And from there can begin an expansion through space, not volume of space, but a threading through space that happens through the center of your being, through your bones, through your fingers, through your toes, in space. Pulsing expansion of sensitivity in all directions, as far as you can hear, as far as you can imagine. And that expansion goes with the degree that you can dissolve into the heart. Meanwhile, our edges dissolve. And we begin to have a direct embodied experience of being with all that is from the center of our being. Breath by breath. Exhale by exhale. And the more we can trust the earth, the more we can allow ourselves to expand in space, the more safe we feel, the more simple this becomes, the deeper we can relax. Just let go with the breath. Give back to the earth. So taking your time, gently awakening. I would just have a yawn, a stretch, if you like, roll onto one side, help yourself up in your own time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a really lovely session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for inviting me. As I enjoyed myself very much. So it looks like other people did too. That's good.
Thank you very much indeed. Such a lovely session, shows so much knowledge of this connection between the mind, body, and soul, and even the knowledge that the body has. I have a final question for you. I mean, what you've just done will seem like very alien to some people who've just started on yoga, who just do yoga for exercise, and they leap around yoga. Even their yoga teachers would consider yoga to be an alternative to Pilates. I mean, what do you have to say about those people who consider yoga just to be another modern form of exercise?
I make a comment, if that's all right.
Yes.
It means that if people who are just beginning are getting this information and tuition now, it will save them from doing yoga possibly in a harmful way and get to that end of that journey maybe after 10, 20, 30 years before they discover what I think is the true yoga of movement.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good answer. If I can persuade them, from my perspective, people have their own journeys. You know, if someone is on that journey, and I mean, if this is presented as an option, then if it resonates with that person, then they'll change gear. And they'll be drawn to looking at the deeper nature of things, and it'll make sense to them. If it doesn't, it's because they're on a different journey. They want the exercise. They want to get on with their agenda. They want to get from A to B. They want to be a yoga teacher. They want to blah 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 blah. They'll do that, and then life at some point will let them know, or their body at some point will let them know that perhaps what they're doing isn't necessarily yoga. It as sort of involved in life and the rest of it as it might be, it might not necessarily be the thing that you can say is a journey towards the center of your being and discovering the true nature of reality through practice and that sort of thing. When they get to that point and they hurt themselves, they can come and see me. I'll help them out, and then they're off. So, you know, each person has their journey with it. My main thing is to make sure that this stuff is out there and understandable to some degree, and that's my envirosomatic approach. That's a nice label for the heady people out there that need to understand what I'm doing. It's basically that your experience of your body, somatic, is a direct result of your relationship to your earth and space, envirosomatic. And if that resonates, if that rings true, then I'm going to catch a few people with that. And if it spreads a little, then it'll be just one of the yogas that's out there available for people to experience. And each person will come to this particular thing when they need it. So
that's lovely. Well, thank you very much again, Marc. Really appreciate your time. And that was a wonderful experience, and you got a lot of very nice feedback.
Thank you very much.
A few more fans of your technique, and we've had you at the festival before,
yes. And
you're certainly coming back next year. So
yes,
we'll get to see you in real life and be able to work with you, and that's a wonderful experience. Thank you very much, everyone, for your Sunday afternoon.
Would I be able to just plug my website a little
Sure,
before?
you carry on.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, Acquaviva, my surname spelt with a C, ACQ .yoga, and there's various memberships. There's free membership. There's a blog and the odd bits and bobs. But I also do my yoga solutions live on Facebook every week, every Tuesday, and they're collated on the website for silver members. And I have weekly classes, workshops. I have advanced CPD courses for teachers that take you through my various processes to sort of understand the organic nature of practice. And I'm also, we were talking earlier, I'm quite happy to put on a few classes for the World Yoga Festival, so I can sort of get to everyone that is a fan of World Yoga. And so yes, go on the website, become a member. It's free, and there's other options where you can get all sorts of benefits if you want to sign up. Okay, that's it.
We will circulate this video, and it'll be on the YouTube channel, and on there beneath that we will put these links in so that you can find yourself to Marc. He's been a great supporter of the festival, I have to say, and we always appreciate these great teachers who come back again and again to help us. As much appreciated. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself, and we'll
Thank
see you
you.
again on another Sunday course. Thank you very much indeed. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.